All right, guys, I gotta talk into this mic. I feel like I'm at like a studio, right? We should have like some music running in the background, right? I'll throw in some Bruno Mars. If I was to do it, it'd be Bruno Mars. But all right. Okay, so I know we have 30 minutes. Kind of what I want to talk through is we'll have about 25 minutes for a presentation, 5 minutes for questions. I like to keep it interactive, so if you guys have questions, just feel free to, you're not going to throw me off my talk track, just ask a question. I want to make this interactive, but there's 4 parts we're going to go through. Kind of give an overview of AI in accounting right now. There's some hot news off the press I want to share and get you guys' feedback on. Kind of the state of AI in specifically in accounting, the governance gap, and a trusted framework that we use at Fresh FP&A specifically around AI adoption. And then I'll give you kind of like my viewpoint from the CFO perspective, and then we'll open up to any questions. A little bit about me. I'm not Lewis Hamilton, so sorry about that. I get that all the time, right? But I run Fresh FP&A. We're a global fractional CFO and advisory service company. Basically, we help small to medium-sized businesses between $1 and $50 million in annual revenue grow with financial clarity and confidence. Before starting Fresh FP&A, I've spent over 20 years in accounting, finance, and financial leadership. Most of my background was always coming in as the first finance hire, building, shaping, scaling, and exiting companies. I've had the fortunate opportunity of taking 3 companies through acquisition. The last one was an international software company called Emarsis. It's about $120 million in revenue, 27 different countries with about 3,000 employees. We built up that operations and sold to SAP for a little under $750 million. I feel like I should do the Austin Powers like $1 billion thing. That was the largest acquisition. Stayed over for a year to help with the post-merger integrations of both the companies. And then honestly, I found myself at a fork in the road. There's 2 things I realized. The first thing I realized is I knew that SMBs need the skills, passions, talents, and experience of fractional CFO leaders and CFO leaders, but didn't necessarily want to afford it or could afford it. And then the second thing is I felt like there needed to be a new perspective, a fresh view looked at finance. So that's when I started Fresh FP&A a little under 4 years ago. I'm based in Indianapolis, Indiana. Go Hoosiers. I don't know if sometimes we get Hoosiers in here, but I'm in New York. It's like, dude, what do you guys do in the Midwest? Like, yes, Indiana is in the Midwest, right? We've got the hospitality. So that's a little bit about me. All right, so first thing I want to do is jump into kind of like the promise versus risk of AI. I think when people think of artificial intelligence, they think of ChatGPT. They think of Perplexity. You think of Claude. You think of, Gemini, right? But AI's been around for over 80 plus years, right? In my journey, I remember in 2012 using prescriptive and predictive analytics when we implemented Oracle Hyperion at a large pharma company. Like prescriptive and predictive analytics is part of AI, and that was over 13 years ago. Also with Power BI, which is a Microsoft application that has natural language processing in it. That is an element of AI. So for me, I think the first thing to think about when you think about artificial intelligence is that the best way to think about it is this. Think about artificial intelligence as I went to the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, right? Shout out to the Hoosiers again. So the Kelley School of Business equals artificial intelligence. Everybody follow that? And inside the business school, you have like accounting and finance, you have marketing, you have operations, you have supply chain, you have entrepreneurship. So those sub areas and majors inside of artificial intelligence, that's prescriptive and predictive analytics. That's large language models. That's natural language processing. That's Internet of Things. That's RPA. So these are all really majors inside of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I talk with CFOs across the entire world. I do so many different sessions. I'm on the advisory board of the CFO Leadership Council. I do so much with CFOs, and they just think AI is just, it's ChatGPT. It's not, right? It's more than that. There's way more functionality and a lot of tools. Now, it came about, the boom of ChatGPT, Gemini has come about, and now I think a lot of people are starting to leverage that. So I wanted to demystify and give everybody what that means of what truly artificial intelligence is. All right. So the first thing I want to go off of is this is like hot off the press 2 days ago. Did anybody see what Accenture just did? This is going to blow everybody, right? Accenture 2 days ago just laid off 11,000 of their consultants all around, their CEO said, we have an AI adoption strategy and we are repurposing our headcount and business to focus on our AI adoption. 11,000 Accenture consultants peace out because a consulting company AI is where we're going. I can tell you right now, remember this on this day in New York City at the Times Center location. This is gonna be a domino. We are gonna see this across Ernst & Young. Anybody that provides a professional service with that people element, but they combine the technology, they now have their playbook. And Accenture, everybody knows Accenture, right? That's like a household name when it comes to consulting. So that to me is an opportunity, but also like if you're not adopting some of these tools, if you're not leveraging it, if you're not having a way to use it in your audit practice or have a way to complement your skill set, it is 1,000% time to do that. But some of the pain points, I do a lot of work with the AI CPA, and over 70% of their firms are trying to adopt AI. The biggest question that they have is trying to find the use cases around it. Like, what's that first use case that I can have around it, right? For us at Fresh FP&A, our two that we leverage all the time, we're Office 365 shop, so Copilot is naturally within our suite. We also leverage ChatGPT, the private version. We already have our private cloud version of it. We're not sending all that stuff out to everybody. And we also leverage Gemini as well too. And that's throughout my entire organization. And also with our clients, if they're Office 365, we're able to get them implemented in Copilot and help work with some of the Power BI functions. I mean, I have a kind of unique situation that I have with a EA that works for me. Her name is Valerie. She's based in Colombia, and we actually leverage a EA MyGPT that does all the tactical stuff, and when it comes down to execution, Valerie actually executes on it. So it's like you're seeing these quasi relationships where a lot of the tactical work is being done by the AI bots. The execution, the strategy that needs to be done is done by the person. That's the combination right there. If there's one thing to take away from this session, this is it. Tactical, operational, routine, manual, low-value work is no longer value added to businesses, to auditors, to finance professionals, to CFOs. They're like, I don't care, like however you get that work done is how you need to get that work done, but I need you focused on the strategic side. I need you building the collaboration inside the business. I need you bringing clarity for operations. That's what the new CFO looks like. Kind of going into a little bit more, like I highlight some like a major roadblocks that I see. One of the things is definitely around like governance, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here today. I mean, we're auditors, right? I'm a former Ernst & Young. I would show you guys my branding, but this isn't that kind of conference out here. I would show like my Ernst & Young branding. But that was trust and accuracy was everything, right? I remember auditing. First time I audited, I was at Mitsubishi Climate Control, which is about 45 minutes outside. And Patricia Salmon was my senior on my job. And she says, Chris, you're going to go out and audit accounts receivable. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But she broke it down like so easy for me. She's like, Chris, two of the most important things that you're going to have throughout your career now that's always going to last is trust. And I think this is like what the FBI says too. Trust, but verify, right? So I remember talking, I'm going through accounts receivable. I'm doing it, here's the invoice. I'm doing the three-way matching, right? And I see one of these bills that come through, and it comes through the controller's like Amex card, no receipts. It's like $15,000. And I'm like, it was a refund to his Amex card. Like, that's cash coming in the door, but like, what was that for? I remember having to talk to this controller, and he was like, oh man, that was a mistake. It shouldn't have charged on my personal Amex. It shouldn't have charged on the company Amex card. And it turned out to be this whole thing. And this is like my first engagement. I'm like, I'm like, I'll never forget going through that. It wasn't any fraud, but that trust, that accuracy, that verification to go through the process. And I mean, I'm fresh out of college, and the controller at the Mitsubishi Climate Control, he's been there like 50 years. You know what I mean? So I'm like talking with him. And we ended up going through it, but that was such a great example of like how are we able to have that trust, accuracy, and completeness when we're adopting AI tools or trusting it, right? So here's some use cases where AI is being used, specifically in the audit function. I think document summarization. I can tell you guys a real life story. There's a good friend of mine. He's a partner at RSM, right? We were having a Indianapolis like networking finance event. He's a partner there. He was coming through, and I could just see it, Justin. I can see the look on his face coming in this meeting. He's audit is beating him up. Right? We all have that look, right? You come through and you're just like, man, I just went through something. And I was like, Justin, what's going on, dude? And he's like, Chris, man, I was working on this client yesterday. This is back in ASC 606. Sorry, guys, I don't want to be pain points in there, right? But we're going through ASC 606, and he's like, Chris, I had to write this 3-page memo for this audit client, this manufacturing client. I spent all this time doing it. I missed my son's like baseball game. He's telling me all this stuff. And I'm sitting there, this is where a mindset shift happened, where I think a lot of finance and CFO professionals that are adopting these tools leverage. I used to think when business people or problems would come to me, I would think about how I can financially model that out, right? Like, how can I put a scenario around it, right? You know, sales, people come to you, your business comes to you, and they're like, hey, I would love to see if our win rate was 25% versus 20%. Like, how much revenue and cash would that bring? And you're having that mindset where you're thinking about the modeling. As Justin's talking to me, I'm thinking about the prompt to write for him to give him exactly what he needs. And I said, okay, Justin, tell me about it. He's like, yeah, it's like a $50 million manufacturing private client. This memo's gonna go to their CEO and their sales owner, and it's really talking about how their commission structure is gonna change. That's what they really wanna have clarity on. So I said, you are a partner at RSM, and you are tasked with writing a 3-page memo covering ASC 606, specifically highlighting how the commission structure changes in the manufacturing. Make the memo clear, concise, easy to understand, bring in the practical frameworks, and oh, by the way, here's your support. Here's the 475-page Ernst & Young document that they produced over ASC 606. This should be the authoritative source that you use to create your memo. Cite all your sources so I can see the links to everything that you have for it. Make that memo easy to export to a Word document. Here's the last part of the prompt that I said. I said, if you have any other questions, comments, clarifications, or concerns before executing on this, ask me. And guys, I'm doing this on my phone with Justin literally right there, guys. Like, he's right here. And it goes through it, and I was like, yeah, this sounds pretty good. It's 3 pages. I see all the sources. I said, Justin, man, what's your email, bro? I'll send this over to you. He's like, Chris, it's Justin Murder at... I was like, cool, man, it's in your email box. Here's the lining on that, right? Justin seen that he had that capability, right? That 475-page Ernst & Young document is available publicly to everybody, right? So if I'm gonna go off of a source to trust and verify, I'm gonna trust the 475-page document Ernst & Young did that probably paid thousands and thousands of dollars to produce as my basis. Gave that to Justin, and it's the most beautiful thing in this whole technology and equipping it as a finance professional that he said. He says, Chris, if I would have known 2 things, if I would have known how to think that way in the prompt, and if I would have known that I had these capabilities to do this, I could have went to my son's baseball game. Like, that hit me, man. I'm like, if he was able to do that, he could have spent time with his son, which in the reality of everything, right? Like, yeah, you got to do your job, but bro, go spend time at your son's baseball game, right? So that's just an example of where, like, these tools are out here. As I just mentioned, that is a real-life use case on their document summarization. I'll tell you guys another one I just leveraged, right? I had a client, they were talking about getting, a business, a car through their business, right? I'm sorry, but I had to take regulations 3 times. It's okay, I'm gonna say it. I failed it 3 times. I got my 78 and I was like, I'm done. I don't wanna see another tax code in my life. That was a rough time in the CPA exam, man, but I passed it. And he asked me, he's like, Chris, you know anything about this Section 179 stuff? On the spot, on a call with the CEO, owner, and founder of a growing professional services company. He's on my portfolio, I'm his CFO, right? I had no, I was like, I know this thing has probably changed a lot. But there's 4 MyGPTs that all of my CFOs have. They have a tax, they have an EA assistant, they have an HR, and they have a legal, right? So I opened up my GPT, my tax advisor, which when I set that up as a job description if I was to go hire somebody for that role, right? I had the requirements, here's what you're gonna source everything from, here's the tone I want. I don't want anything that you give me that is not sourced and correct and not ties back, trace and agrees, to the IRS documentation. If it's not there, if it's not updated, I don't ever want you to talk about it, right? So I'm literally on the call with him, and I'm like, hey, so give me all the updates on Section 179. Give me a checklist that I can walk through with the CEO live on a call right now. Give me the most updated. It gives me that 1-through checklist. And I'm going through it with him on the call saying, hey, are you going to use this car more than 50% for personal use? He's like, no, I'm going to be using it all for business to drop to the client. Great. What kind of car are you looking at? I'm looking at a Ford Bronco. Well, okay, a Ford Bronco, is that over 6,000 pounds? What's the gross weight average of that car? He's like, it's an E2. I don't know what an E2 was. So I said, what is an E2? He's like, yes, that qualifies. That is based on this requirement. That's over 6,000 pounds. Basically, this entire call, I haven't touched Section 179, but in that call in 5 to 10 minutes, I had everything I need to walk a CEO, owner, and founder through everything that they had, right? And every single piece that I seen on that, it was sourced to IRS. And I went back through, right? Because I was like, man, I did this live. I want to make sure I was accurate. Clicked on those links, it sourced everything that I wanted from it, right? That's speed. That is giving him what they need. Now, it could have been, yeah, hey, Jeremy, I don't know this right now, but I have to get back to you on this, right? Which is still okay, but I have these tools available. I have a tax expert that is available for me that can do the document summarization. It can look at the findings. It can look at the most updated information. All of that at your fingertips. I literally have it on my phone. I'm at the gym sometimes and I get creative and I have my best ideas and I talk to my EA ChatGPT bot, right? So that's an opportunity there. The other thing that I kind of want to switch gears to is talking about the governance gap. This is a big one. So a lot of organizations, they want to adopt these tools, but they're like, Chris, how do we govern it? How do we keep control over it, right? And 2 things to kind of highlight. The first one is there's the consumer behavior, and then there's the auditor mindset that you have to have. When consumers using these tools, and right, that's like people that are using it to, they just want quick answers. They're not trusting it. They're just saying, I get a quick answer. It gives me, I care about speed and agility the most when I'm leveraging these tools. Clearly, on the auditor side or the finance side, we want to make sure that that's supporting evidence, right? We want to make sure that it's traceable, that we can tie that out to some authoritative documentation. And I still use this today. I still use it is reasonable and not material in all respects. I use that with clients sometimes, and I remember taking that from Ernst & Young. But we want to make sure that it's reasonable and it's not going to materially affect the information that you're providing. So there's these 2 different mindsets, right? Consumers care about speed and agility of get it. We as finance professionals care about it's traceable, it's supported, and it's accurate and materially correct, right? So you've got this kind of yin and yang, which when you're trying to do the finance mindset, you're not going to have that much speed and agility, right? Now, my example that I share with that CEO, I've used my tax advisor so much that I'm confident that I've trained it to exactly know what it needs, right? So in that real time, 5 to 7 minutes, I can confidently go back and say, okay, I've used this enough, I've corrected it enough. It's like, honestly, the same way of managing people and managing teams is the same way that I manage these AI tools. So that's kind of the difference between the consumer and the audit mindset. When you look at the core competencies of an auditor, I would say probably the number one of these that I kind of want to highlight too is always having that professional skepticism. I think that's something that back in my audit days at Ernst & Young, that was always something, even now is what I bring, right? I hear something and I call it my smell test. You guys probably have your smell test too, right? If it stinks, it stinks. Trust your smell test. But I have that, right? Like if I'm hearing something from sales, and I work with a lot of different sales leaders and marketing leaders, and once they start, well, anecdotally, I think this can, I'm like, okay, man, we're getting into some warm and fuzzy, like I don't know what you're saying, like make it make sense. So that skepticism is gonna be really good in adopting these tools. Challenge it, right? There's been times I tell the tools, Gemini, Claude, or Copilot that I use, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. Here's why it's wrong. And going forward, this is what I want you to do and to fix this. And it's like, okay, like you can correct it. It's not gonna get mad at you. It's not gonna, have a negative on your performance review or something, right? So when you're leveraging these tools, that is 100%, I think, a skill set to make sure that you're having is keeping that skepticism, keeping that trust. I want to verify, I want to source it, right? But my point is around that is you can train it to do that, right? Tell it what you want, right? When I did my legal bot, it's the same thing. I said, I always want you to source, here's the documents I want you to source, here's the tone I want you to have, here's how I want you to challenge me. So make sure you're customizing these tools to exactly what you need from them. But keep that skepticism. It's going to serve you well. Looking at some consequences of traceability, I think the biggest risk out of this is, of course, you have the regulatory risk, right? You have the financial statement misstatement. I do not see AI where it's like producing financial statement. I do see AI actually doing accounting entries and things around that, which could lead to a financial statement misrepresentation. But the biggest one is the reputational risk, right? I had a CFO that was out in LA, and I was out there actually at a client. I had lunch with him, and he was so excited to tell me about how he leveraged AI. And he's like, Chris, man, I got this like agreement, and I want to tell you all about my AI story. And I'm like, all right, bro, Dan, tell me all about it. He says, man, I got this one contract from a client. I compared it to our contract. I loaded it into ChatGPT, loaded the contract, and this was for a potential acquisition. So they're past the NDA phase, and he's like, yeah, I took their information, I compared it to ours. It was able to find exactly where the differences were. I had three strong talking points to talk with legal about throughout the information, and ChatGPT gave me all of that. And I was like, Dan, okay, Dan, let's break this down, man. Dan, he's like, yeah, I just used the free version of it, Chris. Like, I just used the free version. And I was like, okay, so let me just repeat this back to you, Dan. You're super excited, love the energy, love it, but you loaded proprietary information that you were in an NDA, in a potential acquisition agreement, into the public version of ChatGPT, and it looked at the documents in summary, and these are legal documents that found the differences between this, and I said, he's like, yeah, and it gave me everything I needed. Completely oblivious around the regulatory risk and the reputational risk around that, right? If he would have shared that story in any of those broader conversations, that is clearly a breach of the NDA, right? Clearly a breach, and ultimately, him using the public version of that, it could be cross-queried, right? There's a current litigation right now with Samsung. Someone in their legal group actually uploaded proprietary information that was cross-queried, and now you're finally at this stage where it's like, who's to blame? I'm sorry, but you can't, like, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity are not going to be in court one day, and it's like the business versus ChatGPT. It's not going to happen, right? So you have these situations. Make sure you're not leveraging those proprietary documents inside of there. Here's some best practices. I kind of just, develop your governance policy. Where we work a lot with our clients is we partner a lot with their IT group and their legal group along with finance. And we partner along creating a nice AI governance policy. It's not about restricting. It's about, I call it the sandbox mentality of like, where can you operate and how can you operate? And it's an empowering people at the front end. Because here's the reality, right? You're not going to stop your people from using these tools. It's not going to happen, right? So how can you create a sandbox where it's contained and not put the business at risk? For the sake of time, I just want to kind of go through directly this AI value proposition. This is where I think the AI values the accuracy, the traceability, and the governance. If you have these three elements, you have exponential AI value, right? And as I mentioned earlier, some of these tools are great for this. Gemini, Copilot. Copilot's really good if you're Office 365 shop because it can search your internal documents. But this to me is like and I know as as auditors, we love like equations. This is the AI accuracy multiplied by traceability, multiplied by governance. That's going to give you that value. All right, so what's next? I think one of the coolest things that I see with AI right now is I think we're still at that stage where it's not doing the tactical level work. It's doing some reconciliations, doing those different things, but I think the ability that it gives us to move into more higher values in the organization, that's where I see the next horizon is going to be. And for me, like this middle little section right here of what you'll see right here in the middle, you're starting to see a lot more of AI with you see VO3 where it's doing like real life adaptations of people. I think that's pretty cool. We leverage it at Fresh FP&A. Like there's an AI avatar of me that does a lot of, my marketing team does a great job with the content side of it, and people don't even know that like that's not me at all. It's got my voice down. It's got my mannerism, which is scary because I'm like, am I really AI now? I'm here, guys. This is really me. This isn't AI version of me. But that's kind of what I look like what it sees like on the future. Closing thoughts, I just want to end with this, man. And this last quick story that I'll give and just kind of have some time for questions. I know we got to get going, but I was being asked about 15 years ago when I was a manager of FP&A and I was at AICPA FP&A conference. And someone asked, is AI going to take my job? Mind you, this is 15 years ago. My response to that is the same as it is today. AI is not going to take our jobs. It is meant to level us up, get us out of the low value, tactical, manual, routine work, and get us into the higher value activities, collaboration, communication, connection, and bringing clarity, right? And that skill set, right? I wasn't taught that on the CPA exam, right? Ernst & Young didn't have a class on that. So these skill sets are what you need to practice, what we need to level up into, and that is where I think the future of AI is going to go for finance, auditing professionals, accountants. It's not going to replace us. It is going to level us up. Thank you guys for your time. Here's my QR code if you want to follow me. Thank you. Shout out to DataSnipper. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I think we have like 1 minute for a question. Sorry, I was running through this. Any questions?
Then maybe one for me. So I really like the practice.
Yeah.
So what would you say that, for example, an IC at Ernst & Young, what are some of the things that they can do to actually put practice into practice?
Yeah.
I think in such a large organization, it can feel really daunting to try out some stuff, and I'm sure that IC is also not super aware of all the risk involved. So where can they get started easily?
Yeah, so I've actually partnered with the Ernst & Young office in Indianapolis where I'm based, and they're doing some pilot testing on a lot of their substantive testing to have tools like AI tools be able to leverage that, and they're piloting some of those. So to me, I think that first step is find the use cases. Also, here's another golden nugget for everybody. Do not start with the technologies first. Don't do that. You're going to find the use cases you want to solve first, right? And Ernst & Young, specifically Indianapolis, specifically what they're piloting, is saying, how do we get most of our team out of this low-value substantive testing that they're doing, right? So how can we leverage technology to get 80% there? Then we bring in the staff to make the understanding around it. So find the specific use case, then find the technology to help you solve and turn you from pain to productivity for that use case. Use cases are everything. That'd be my answer to that.
Great answer. And then maybe one final question is, I really like all of the examples that you gave around your GPTs.
Yeah.
Like I think it was 4 or something.
4 of them, yeah. That's my G&A team.
Exactly. I really like that. So I don't know if there are trade secrets involved here, but yeah,
No.
should someone have questions about
Hey,
this?
QR code me that, connect with me on LinkedIn and say, Chris, I want your tax advisor because I want to know section 179. I would literally send you the blueprint that says, here's everything you need to put in there. And guys, it's going to be a job description and it's thorough, but that is going to be a tax advisor that I can tell you from using it is going to be awesome for you. So connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a request, say, Chris, I want the EA, I want the legal, I want the HR, I want the marketing or whatever one that you want, and I'll get my team to send it over to you. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.